appreciate you spending some of your time here with us. Of course, I'm Heather Branch. This is Abe Abich, founder of Abich Financial Services, financial advisor, and author. Actually, I'll go ahead and point out the book, The Retirement Mountain, The 7 Steps to a Long-Lasting Retirement. It's Abe's book. We've got links for you to check out the book. You know, actually, there's also, is the audio recording of the book out yet?
It is. It is.
Spent a lot of time working on that.
There's an Audible recording that's also available on.
I love that
Amazon,
because sometimes something like this is great it's great when you're like driving somewhere or on a walk to just listen to it, and you yourself read it, right?
Yep, I do.
So
I read through the whole book.
Why would you read a book when the author of the book can read it to you? So anyways, we'll get more to the book here in a minute, but links in our notes for you to download and also access the book. In the meantime, there was this article posted, I think it was Yahoo Finance that reposted an article about moves that would destroy your retirement account. Destroy is an aggressive word. I don't know if we want to go that hard, but this is what they're saying, that, and you say 5 moves in particular you agree with it could really just mess up our retirement account. So let's go through what those 5 moves are and how we can do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think some of them could really mess up your potential retirement plan if you're not careful and you're not looking at your 401k as you should.
Sure.
So I guess first off, 401k, it's a great accumulation tool because we can max out our accounts from year to year. And if you're 50 and older, which most of our clients are, you can max out those accounts plus excess contributions, catch-up contributions. And in almost all 401ks, you're getting matching contributions from your employer, free dollars that hopefully you're taking advantage of. And so a married couple could sock away over $60,000 if they're both working and both over 50, which is a lot of money every year to be able to sock away into a tax-deferred plan. So that's one good part of a 401k and retirement account. Let's just focus on the 401k. So the first thing that could really harm a retirement plan when you talk about 401k accounts is thinking that your actual 401k is the retirement plan. Now, hold on a second. You have way more pieces in a retirement plan that hopefully you're considering as well. Your Social Security, taxes, your healthcare, Medicare, estate planning, your wills and trusts, your income, when to make all these decisions, how, where are the accounts going to be? What accounts are you going to pull from in terms of income? You know, the 401k, again, is a great way to save money long-term because it's forced, it's automatic, it's out of sight, it's out of mind, it's deducted from our paychecks every 2 weeks, which we as most Americans need. So we're not spending it all. So a great way to save and accumulate, but I would say terrible distribution vehicle, terrible income vehicle. So we need to start thinking about taking this great accumulation and savings tool and turning it into income that we can enjoy. And most of the times that's not by leaving it in the 401k, because the 401k is just a tool with savings options. Now we want to continue to grow our money, have it grow, to be there long term down the road for us when we're in our later years, to hedge against inflation, to pass money on to our loved ones if that's important. But again, it is not a great distribution tool. So usually there aren't options in there that are going to be good for income and retirement. This is why a lot of people will roll over their 401ks into IRAs, where now you're going from maybe 15 or 20 fund options in a company plan to thousands, literally thousands of options in an IRA on a major platform like Fidelity, like Schwab, like Vanguard, you know. And then in addition to all the other options available in an IRA on a major platform, typically you're going to have lower cost. Typically you're going to have, again, way more options, lower cost in the funds. And then the monies can actually be managed for you by an advisor, where usually they can't be managed for you in a 401k. So the number one, challenge there and potential problem is just thinking that your bucket of money that might be all in a 401k or mostly in a 401k is the retirement plan. Now, it's a big piece of your retirement plan, but it is not the sole retirement plan.
It's an account, not a plan. Yeah.
Problem and challenge number one that we want to be mindful of and start changing the way we think about the money we've saved so that we can go from just growing it, climbing up that retirement mountain, to enjoying the money we just worked our entire lives to save.
Okay. Number two,
letting fear or headlines drive our decision making. So one of the key things when it comes to retirement planning, when it comes to income planning, when it comes to making sure your assets, your dollars, your income last you over the course of your lifetime is not letting emotions control your decision making. I saw this happen this year in 2025. Earlier in the year, we had a lot of volatility over the
Yeah.
tariff situation.
Yeah.
And I remember in February and March, there were people that wanted to stay out of the market. So they might have had cash on the sidelines. They wanted to stay out of the market until the volatility stopped or kind of subsided.
Mm-hmm.
There were also people that didn't want to make decisions until this all came to a head and to an ending. And what happens is when you make those decisions that are driven by the guidelines on TV and so forth, you're missing out. Typically, you miss out on a lot of that rebound, maybe all of the rebound. Okay. And it's time in the market. It's not timing the market based on what the president says or someone in Congress says or some war going on or whatever it is. You need to understand that markets give, they take away, they go up, they go down, and it's staying in the market and having a plan and an allocation that's well suited for you. That well suited plan and strategy should be able to weather the ups and downs and eliminate decisions made by your emotions or driven by your emotions.
All right. So problem number 1, your 401k is an account, not a plan. Number 2, don't let fear headlines drive your decisions. Something that could also be messing up your retirement account. A habit. Number 3 is underestimating retirement costs. Abe,
Right.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, your expenses don't always drop. In fact, I would argue that in the first 5 to 10 years of retirement, your expenses will go up. And there'll be more, and you want that to be the case because remember, you're going to be or should be proactively starting to spend part of your life savings. You're tapping into your life savings, your 401ks for the first time in your lives at usually 3 to 4% or somewhere in that range, right? You might have Social Security, a pension, some rental income, some dividend and interest income, and also distributions from a 401k or an IRA for the first time in your lives. And so expenses don't always drop. In fact, a lot of times they go up. Medical bills, home repairs, supporting adult children can add up fast, especially with inflation.
Yeah.
And if you're not actively taking dollars out of your portfolio to enjoy them, perhaps you should consider taking out more from your portfolio because we've talked about this before. The last thing you want is to head into your 80s and 90s wishing you had taken some trips, wishing you had spent the money on the things that you want. So don't get into your later years with regrets.
Right. That's the whole point of having an income plan so that you know what dollars you can be spending with more confidence. Of course, at Abich Financial, they're here to help you figure that out. You can visit us at theretirementkey.com to start the conversation about building your own retirement income plan. Something else we like to do is stick our head in the sands when it comes to the fees we may or may not be paying. For so many people, I know, especially when you do 401k X-rays, a lot of people are shook when they see how much in fees they're actually paying, are they not?
Yep. Yeah. And I just did an analysis for someone here recently, and it's in an amazing fund. It's in a kind of an old school mutual fund with a big time company that everyone would recognize if I mentioned the name. And the fund is actually made close to 10%, maybe 9 or 10% for like the last 5 or 10 years. So it's done reasonably well. But what I also noticed is that when we ran the analysis, the fund expense ratio, the cost of that fund is 0.8%. So you're almost paying an advisory fee. And if that person or whoever it is owns a fund like that out there and you don't have an advisor, here you are paying almost the equivalent of an advisory fee without advice and guidance on that money. Like there might be a fund manager that manages that fund, but they're not managing that fund just for you, Heather. They're managing that fund for millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people, to make up a fund that might have hundreds of millions of dollars in it. Right.
Okay.
So we got to be careful of the expenses, not only the expenses that are in your funds and in your products and in the instruments that you might be invested in, but also the advisor costs. It needs to be reasonable. You need to be getting value. Yes. Typically when you pay someone, you should be getting a lot back in return. The value should be there, but you want to be aware of what you're paying, and you'd be surprised, Heather. I would say most people that come into the office that are working with an advisor don't know the exact fee they are being charged by that advisory firm. Now we can always help them find out by finding the ADV or by seeing it in the statements and things like that.
Okay.
But you want to be aware of what it is, So in that case, I just gave you an example of a fund that somebody had owned and was invested in that had an expense ratio of 0.8, which is near 1%. If then they are paying an advisory fee of, let's say 1.2, they're paying close to 2% per year, close to
Mm-hmm.
2% per year. That's coming out of that account for that advice and the cost of the fund. Now, the fund might be awesome, might have done really well, but it's something to be aware of. So if you
Yep.
are paying 1.82% for the cost of advice, and in addition, the cost of that fund, you need to know. And am I getting my money's worth? Am I getting value? Right. Is the fund performing well? Is the plan performing well? Am I getting what I'm paying for?
Right. Exactly.
Be mindful of that.
Especially there's so many options for lowering our fees, especially options where you're not getting any kind of financial guidance or advice from an advisor. Why would you be paying fees in that manner then? So as you pointed out, Abe, through the X-ray process you offer at Abich Financial, a fee analysis is part of the process on all of your savings accounts. So if you have questions about that, again, it's theretirementkey.com. All right. Last thing you want to point out about moves that we could be making that may be destroying our retirement accounts is relying too heavily on the market.
We see this all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And a lot of people do know that they're taking on more risks than they should be. And that's one of the biggest reasons why people come in. Another huge reason is just for tax planning. Some people aren't aware of the risks they're taking. They might come in and say, you know, I want to be a 5 on our risk scale, a 6 on our risk scale. That might mean a 50-50, stock bond portfolio, 60-40 stock bond or growth fixed income mix, which is a classic mix. Mm-hmm. And they might have 90 to 100% in stocks. Now, some people realize that and know that. There's going to be people that are maybe more on top of it, that are checking their statements, that have had an X-ray ran on their portfolio to really know that and understand it. But a lot of people don't realize just how much risk they are taking at the point of retirement. And that could be a huge problem. Even for the ones that know and do realize and understand how much risk they're taking, if action isn't taken to pull in the reins and reduce the risk at the point of retirement, you can get in major trouble. Because if someone has 80, 90 to 100% of their money in stocks, you are living with those markets and you are dying with those markets in terms of gaining probably most, if not all, the upside and gaining, if not most or all of the downside. Yeah. And if you're at the point of retirement and let's just say $5 million is your number, $2 million is your number, you've gotten to that number. The last thing you want is with months or less, a year or two or less away from full retirement, you're about ready to punch the clock and check out and head into your glory years, you take a massive loss. Mm-hmm. Or in the first 3 to 5 years of retirement, you take a massive loss. At the same time, for the first time in your life, you're also withdrawing money out of it. You know, that double negative, that sequence risk we talk so often about. Yeah. And so you really, really want to pull on the reins at the point of retirement. And if you haven't done so, you really need to take a look at it. It's serious, and it just makes sense if you think about it, right? Your paycheck's going to end. Your paychecks will start from your portfolio and your life savings, and you can't or should not be invested like you're 40 anymore if you're in your 60s.
Yeah. Well, obviously, there is a big shift that has to happen for all of us entering into retirement and understanding all of the financial things that we need to understand in this next phase of life, which is why Abe and his team, they do what they do. And also why Abe is constantly talking about how the difference between Abich Financial and so many other financial advisors, because this is not about growth anymore. It is in some aspects, obviously, for longevity, but for the most part, it's about income and distribution for retirement. It is. And you are phase 2 retirement planners at Abich Financial Services.
It's our understanding, Heather, that less than 10% of the entire industry really focuses on this part of a retirement plan, that over 90% of the industry helps Americans get to retirement, get to that point where they have their number, they can retire. Less than 10% of the industry, it's in our understanding, helps people with the final part of that plan, having those assets last the next 30 to 40 years, generating income, protecting the life savings from all the risks that can mess up a great savings plan.
Considering that 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every day, it's mind-boggling to think only 10% of the financial industry is focused on this group of people, and also how complicated it is for all of us. There's so much that falls upon us now to figure out, but you don't have to figure it out by yourself. At Abich Financial, Abe and his team, they are here to help. Also, Abe took his thoughts, wrote them down in a book. The Retirement Mountain, the 7 Steps to a Long-Lasting Retirement, is an easy read. You can probably read it in a couple hours on a Saturday, or at the beginning of the podcast conversation, we were talking about how the Audible version of the book is now available. So you can just download that, listen next time you're stuck in traffic. If you live in the DC metro area, you know that situation all too well. But we were talking about things that could be destroying your retirement account, a list of 5 points. And here you got the 7 steps to a long-lasting retirement, Abe.
A lot of those steps are how to protect your life savings, how to generate income,
Yeah.
how to protect your last 30 to 40 years of work from the risks that can mess up a great savings plan, and how to enjoy it, how to
Yeah.
put it together in a new plan, that phase 2 plan we talk about so often, so you can enjoy this money that you've worked so hard for.
Abe wants to empower you with information. That's why he wrote the book. There's all kinds of ways for you to get a copy of the book. You can download it. You can get it on Amazon. If you come in for an appointment, we'll give you a copy for free. We've got links to the book posted in the show notes, as well as to our website where you can go to begin the conversation. Of course, wanting to avoid making these kinds of mistakes that could be accidentally. You could be doing it yourself, destroying your retirement accounts just by having these habits that so many of us have. So many of us have at Abich Financial. Abe and his team working to help you break bad habits and get some good ones under your belt heading into retirement. So let's start that conversation. You can find us anytime. Visit us at theretirementkey.com.